Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to our soulful morning. Welcome to a wonderful world of getting deeper inside us, understanding the soul's journey. So let's close our eyes, work alongside our breathing, wake up to a beautiful morning, end of another beautiful week, and strengthen our willpower. Let's consciously take 3 deep breaths in and consciously exit. Every time the breath exits, let's just let go of any baggage that we may be carrying. Let that be the intention. And now, let's practice lotus of gratitude and connect back in 100 seconds. Life is a blessing. And this life can be furthermore blessed if we develop a beautiful power called will. They say when there's a will, there's a way out. We use the words, I will do it, I can do it. But we tend to do things when we develop this muscle called willpower, because without that, nothing really moves. Now it's very important to close our eyes, which they already closed, and ask our higher self, what is it that if I do, you can help me expanding my beautiful will? What is it if I do, you can help me solidify my will? Because with will comes determination. With will comes strength. Oftentimes we want to do things, but we aren't able to for lack of will. So each of us will have a different answer when we meditate on this beautiful question and go inward. If you wish, after you've got received a download, you can share in the chat box. And if you wish, you can just meditate. So take a few minutes, ask this question, wait for an answer, and then we will ponder. When you receive no answer, re-ask, what is it that if I do will help me build my willpower? The answers I've received. Whatever we want to do has to have a foundation. Why do I want to do it? So if we write down the whys in detail, 5 whys in detail, and if we keep reading them again and again, then we will be reaching our willpower sooner because of a solid foundation. And each time the willpower weakens, we tell ourselves, this is our integrity. Whenever we want to weaken, we ask ourselves, I'm being watched by my angel and guardians. When I give in to my weaknesses, I fail this test and I release the power of will. But if I continue at it, then I only strengthen my willpower. Otherwise, I'll always be on the start line. Start, go a bit further. It's like a race, a 400-meter race. Start, I reach the 100-meter mark, 200-meter mark, and then I fail and I come back to the number 1 point. Do I always want to be the start line, or do I want to reach the finish line? It all depends upon me. And whenever something comes up where we get weak and the willpower is about to get weakened, we change that course. We let go of all that is attracting us, diverting us. And each time you want to cheat, you want to falter, you had that list of 5 whys handy. And when we develop a willpower, and when we write all our goals in writing, then nobody can stop us from reaching our beautiful world. And most importantly, spiritual cleansing, spiritual help will come in our way. So we should always remember that in our willpower game, we are never alone. Always ask for the help of angel guardian spirit guides or whoever you believe in the world of light. Ask for them to show the light, to throw the light on something which is not clear. And it will be very useful because they will ensure that a journey is smoother. But we forget the presence of these light beings. And we again and again go into a loop of starting back, oftentimes not finishing and not completing the task at hand. And we need to build our own character, our own philosophies, our own virtues. The more willpower we display to ourselves, the more we respect ourselves because we have accomplished a task. It's a sense of victory. Otherwise, we ourselves can't respect ourselves. They say you can love others if you love yourself. Similarly, we can respect others for who they are if we respect ourselves also a little more, and that's when we'll be inspired. So each time somebody does something inspirational, may we be inspired from them and say that I attract this virtue, this quality in myself. And I pray for a more beautiful willpower so that I am able to reach my goals faster. And I call upon all my spiritual guides, my light beings, in my soul journey, in my life journey, to help me accomplish the task at hand by enforcing that my willpower becomes stronger, deeper, and more profound. These are the answers I received. I would be happy to know your answers. But right now, let's go back into meditation and thank all the light beings that are always available for any doubts that we have, who are available to show us the light, and now who are helping guide us by reading their wonderful book, which is taking us to progressive life. And so many messages are going to be unfolded in front of all of us as we read the magical book. Before that, let's bow in gratitude. Let's go back in our wonderful world of meditation. And with our both hands folded, thank all the light beings for their presence, for their guidance, and for their help. Thank you, thank you, thank you, light beings. Thank you for showing the light. We may be sunk in darkness at times, but you always show the light and get us out. And you help us learn the lessons. Now let's rub our hands together and share our blessings with the world. May everybody develop this beautiful willpower the way I have been guided to. May they find their own whys and reach their own dreams. I can keep blessing until your hands tingle. And once you stop tingling, you can rub the entire hands on your wonderful body, front and back, up and down. And open your eyes when you're ready to read this beautiful book that we all are reading now. Same soul, many bodies, and going into our future. Today we will be reading chapter number 3, which is about health. And the stories that are going to be shared are going to be from Victoria, Evelyn, and Michelle. As a physician and psychiatrist, my mission is to heal physical and emotional illnesses, sometimes separately, but more often simultaneously, since the mind affects the body's health. And the body, the mind's, I am aware of the concept of spiritual health. But to me, the soul is always healthy. Indeed, the soul is perfect. So we all know the soul is whole and complete, right? When people talk about healing the soul, I don't know what they mean. It is our distance from being soulful that makes us feel the soul needs to be healed. Poor health tends to make narcissists out of all of us. And narcissism makes us blind to compassion, empathy, anger management, and patience. All the elements, when mastered, will lead us higher up the evolutionary scale towards immortality. Often, if we are sick, we can think of nothing but the sickness, and there's little chance for progress. Thus, in this chapter, I write about physical illnesses and diseases and diseased states of mind, phobias, fears, depressions, anxiety, and how to alleviate them. Do past lives have an impact on them? Absolutely. Do future lives also have an effect? More and more. The evidence continues to accumulate. I believe they do. I'm also about to introduce you to two remarkable people, Victoria and Evelyn, the first with a cancer that made every day a time in hell, the other with such profound anxiety that an outwardly successful life was actually made virtually unmanageable. I cured Victoria by bringing her into the past life. I've helped Evelyn by showing her the future. By this time, I'm used to amazing regressions, astonishing revelations, but Victoria's case filled me with a sense of miraculous I'd never often experienced since I first met Catherine 24 years ago. Victoria is a physicist living in Manhattan, a renowned member of the Academy of Arts and Sciences. I met her when she came up to me at the start of a 5-day workshop at the Omega Institute, a healing and learning center in Rhinebeck, New York. She told me for the past 16 years she'd been experiencing severe back pain caused by a cancer that multiple operations and a series of chemotherapy and radiation treatments had been unable to cure. She handed me a file on a condition several inches thick. Her pain was unremitting. She described it as being like the relentless bombardment of an obsessed tooth. Sorry, of an abscessed tooth. At night, she had to take high doses of morphine-like drug because pain was so severe. But during the day, she endured the agony so that she could continue to work with a clear mind. Though not old, she was in her mid-50s. Her hair had turned grey from the pain. She didn't like the way it looked, so she dyed it black. Victoria had stopped taking her medicines a few days before the workshop she ever, so she could concentrate on my lectures. But now she asked, how can I last 5 days without medicine? I'll have to go home in an ambulance. Do your best, I said, but I understand if you have to leave. She stayed for all the sessions and at the end approached me with her report. It was so important that I asked her to share it with the group. During the week, she'd experienced several regressions, all covering the same life, which took place in Jerusalem at the time of Jesus. She was a poor male peasant, a powerful man with huge arms and shoulders, but spiritually sensitive and fond of birds and animals. He lived in a wooden house by the side of the road with his wife and daughter, bothering no one. Victoria recognized the daughter. She was a daughter now. One day, the peasant found a mourning dove that had broken in its wings and knelt to care for it. A Roman soldier marching with an elite corps to the palace guard was annoyed by this man blocking his path and kicked him savagely in the back, breaking several vertebrae. Others of the corps set fire to his house, killing his wife and child. The peasant's bitterness and hatred of the Romans burned bright within him. From that moment on, he trusted no one. His back never healed. In despair, broken physically and emotionally, he moved close to the main temple within the walls of Jerusalem, where he lived in a lean-to existing on the vegetables he was able to grow. He was unable to work, getting around only by leaning on a sturdy walking stick and his one animal, a donkey. People thought he was senile, but he was merely old and broken. News of a rabbi who was becoming famous as a healer caught his attention, and he traveled a great distance to hear a sermon by this man. It was a sermon on the Mount, expecting not to be healed or comforted in any way, but curious all the same. The rabbi's followers were appalled at the sight of the peasant and shooed him away. He hid behind a bush and was able to meet Yeshua's eyes. It was like looking into bottomless pits filled with endless compassion. Victoria told me. Yeshua said to the peasant, do not go far, and he obeyed for the rest of the day. The encounter brought the peasant not healing but hope. He went back to his lean-to, inspired by the rabbi's sermons. which he found ringing and true. The rabbi was about to return to Jerusalem. The peasant became stricken with anxiety. He knew Yeshua was in a dangerous situation, having heard rumors of what the hated Romans had planned for him. He tried to reach the rabbi to warn him, but he was too late. The next time they communicated, Yeshua was struggling under the weight of a huge wooden beam on his way to being crucified. He was, the peasant knew, extremely dehydrated. Amazed at his own courage, he reached out to Yeshua with a cloth soaked in water to wet his mouth, but Yeshua had already passed by. The peasant felt terrible. But when Yeshua looked back at him again with infinite compassion in his eyes, despite his physical struggle, dehydration, and fatigue, though Yeshua did not speak, the peasant became aware of his words that enriched him, that etched themselves telepathically on his mind. It's all right. This was meant to be. Yeshua walked on. The peasant followed him to cavalry to the crucifixion. Victoria's next memory was of herself as a peasant standing alone in the pouring rain, sobbing minutes after Yeshua's death on the cross. Yeshua was the only one, as he trusted his, since his family was killed, and now the rabbi too was dead. Suddenly he felt what Victoria described as electricity at the top of his head. It was shot down his spine, and he became aware that his back was straight. He was no longer hunchbacked or crippled. He was strong again. Look, Victoria cried in the present. Look. She began to dance, swiveling her own hips, completely pain free. There had been no witnesses when the peasants stood straight 2,000 years later. Everyone at the conference watched Victoria dance. Some were crying, my own eyes filled with tears. Sometimes when I go over my notes as I review a case, I forget the sense of magic, the sense of mystery and awe and regressions evoke in me. But now it was palpable. This was not hypnotic suggestion. That she had several vertebral damage and cartilage loss was documented by the MRIs and other tests reported in the file she gave me. I remember thinking, how will this physicist, this woman of science, incorporate what has just happened into her life? It was an intellectual question that might be in time be answered. For the moment I watched her, all I could feel was her joy. Something more wondrous was yet to happen. In Only Love is Real, I wrote briefly about a past life memory of my own. I was a young man from a very wealthy family living in Alexandria some 2000 years ago. I loved to travel and roam the deserts of northern Egypt and southern Judea, often investigating the caves where the Essenes and other spiritual groups lived at the time. In fact, my family continued to the well being. During one journey, I met a man somewhat younger than I who was exceptionally bright, we camped and traveled together for about a month. He soaked up in the teachings of these spiritual communities much faster than I did. Though we became good friends, eventually we went our separate ways. I to visit a synagogue near the Great Pyramids. I did not relate the rest of the story at that time because it was extremely personal. I did not want people to think. I wrote of self-congratulations. Dr. Wise, in the name of Jesus. You'll see shortly why I do so now. It was Victoria's story, not mine. I saw my companion again in Jerusalem, where I often traveled because my family conducted much of their businesses there. I experienced myself in that storied city as a scholar, not a businessman, though I was still wealthy. By the time I had affected an immaculately trimmed salt and pepper beard and wore an extravagant robe, my own coat of many colors, I saw it then as I see now vividly. At the time, there was a traveling rabbi who was able to inspire huge groups of people, and thus was a threat to Pontius Pilate, who placed him under a death sentence. I merged with the crowd gathered to see the person on his way to execution, and when I looked into his eyes, I knew that I had found my friend, but it was too late to even attempt to save him. All I could do was watch when he walked by, though I was later able to frantically support some of his fellow followers and his family. I was thinking of this as Victoria, very much in the present and still exhilarated, was talking, so I only half heard her when she said, I saw you there. Where? I said. In Jerusalem, where Jesus was on his way to the cross, you were someone powerful. A thrill went up my spine like fire along a fuse. How do you know it was me? By the expression in your eyes, it's the same expression I see in them now. What was I wearing? A robe. It was sand colored with vividly burgundy piping, very elegant. You weren't one of the authorities, not one of the Pilates men, but I knew you, yet the money because of the robe and because your salt and pepper beard was so neatly trimmed, unlike most of people's. Oh, it was you, Brian. No doubt about it. Both of us felt goosebumps as we looked at each other in wonder. A psychiatrist might say, well, that's projection. You were teaching at Omega, the authority figure and a healer, and a pain is gone. So naturally, she'll believe she saw you in a regression. True. But you described the robe, the beard. My parents had seen the situation exactly as I had seen many years ago in my own regression. I told only three people the full story of the regression. In no way could she have known what I looked like or what I was wearing. There is something extremely remarkable going on here. To me, it is inexplicable. It goes beyond health and healing into the realm of the transcendental. This was meant to be. Jesus the healer told her, I sense there are important words, but I'm not sure how to interpret them. She called me the night after the conference ended, still shaken. Both of us, twin scientists, realized that her vision of Jesus had been validated. For some reason that neither of us understood, we had been taken beyond our sights 2 points where we had been destined to meet that she might heal. It was neither accident nor fantasy that she saw me in Jerusalem. It meant that 2,000 years later, I was to be the instrument of her healing. I asked her to keep in touch with me, and we speak regularly. She still moves without pain and can swivel her hips with her best of them. When she went back to her hairdresser, he marveled that her hair had kept its dye so well, and then realized that it had grown in black, the natural color. Her internist was, she said, flabbergasted by her ability to walk and dance without pain. And in October, a pharmacist called her concerned because she had not renewed her prescription for pain medication. I don't need it anymore, she told him, and amazed at all that had happened, began to weep. I am fine. Evelyn worked in mergers and acquisitions, meaning that she helped effectuate the merging of two companies or the sales of one to another. When the companies were large, there were often hundreds and millions of dollars involved, and the fees paid to the company that Evelyn worked for routinely came to seven figures. Evelyn was paid a substantial salary, which was often doubled or tripled by her year-end bonuses, a reward for bringing in new businesses. She was in her mid-30s, slim, physically attractive, with black hair, cropped short, almost a cliche of the young woman executive. Her clothes reflected her success, a Chanel suit and a handbag, a Hermes scarf, shoes by Gucci, a Rolex watch, and a diamond necklace. Yet when I looked into her eyes, not easy since they darted away from me when she became conscious of my gaze. I could see sadness. The light was in the diamonds at her neck, not in her expression. I need help. She said the moment we shook hands while she sat, agitated hands twisted and untwisted in her lap, I quickly learned that she was given to the simple declarative sentences spoken in an unnaturally loud voice. I'm unhappy. There was silence. Go on, I prompted. I have of late lost all my mirth. The phrase seemed oddly formal. Then I remembered it was a quote from Hamlet. Patients sometimes use someone else's words. They don't have to use their own. It's a defense, a way of masking feelings. I waited for her to continue. It took a while. I used to love my job. Now I hate it. I used to love my husband. Now we're divorced. When I have to see him, I can barely look at him. When did the change come? With the suicide bombings. The totally unexpected answer stopped me short.
Sometimes mood swings from happy to depressed are caused by the death of a parent. Evelyn's father, I learned later, died when she was a child. The loss of a job, clearly not Evelyn's problem or the effects of a long illness. Evelyn was in excellent health. Suicide bombings, unless one of was directly attacked, were to say the least an unusual impetus. She began to weep. The poor Jews, the poor Jew. She took a deep breath. The tears stopped. Those damn Arabs. The swear word seemed out of character, an indication of the rage beneath it. You are Jewish, then I asked. With all my heart and soul. Your parents, were they as passionate as you? No, they weren't very religious. Neither am I. And they didn't care about Israel. To me, it's the one country that matters. The Arabs are out to destroy it. And your husband? He claims he's Jewish, but he doesn't care about Israel either. It's one of the reasons I hate him. She stared at me antagonistically, perhaps because I remained calm in the force of her passion. Look, I've lost my appetite for food, for sex, for love, for business. I'm frustrated and unsatisfied. I can't sleep. I know I need psychotherapy. You can have a good reputation. Help me so you can find out where the anger and anxiety come from. I want my happiness back. She hung her head. I go to the movies, I go shopping, I go to bed, and I think about how much I hate the Arabs. I hate the UN. I know they've done good, but they are dominated by anti Semites. Every vote goes against Israel. I know I'm overreacting. I know I should care about something else. But those damn Arabs, how can they kill Jewish babies? How can I care about anything else? We tried conventional psychotherapy, exploring her childhood in this life, but the causes of her anger and her anxiety did not seem to reside there. She agreed to a regression. Go back to the time and place where your anger first began. I instructed her when she was in a deep hypnotic state. This was as far as I could lead her. She could pick in wherever and whatever that was. It's World War II, she said in a deep masculine voice, sitting up straight with an expression of disbelief. I'm a Nazi officer, a member of the SS. I have a good job. It is to supervise the loading of Jews into the cattle cars that will take them to Dachau. They will die. If any of them tries to escape, I shoot them. I don't like to do that, but it's not that I don't care that the woman dies. It's that I hate to lose a bullet. Bullets are expensive. We've been told to save ammunition whenever possible. Her cold blooded recitation was belied by the horror of her tone and a slight trembling that possessed her body. As a German, she might have felt nothing for the people she killed, as Evelyn, remembering she was in agony. I've discovered that the surest way to be reincarnated into a particular group of people, defined by religions, race, nationality, or culture, is to hate those people in a previous life, to be prejudiced or violent against that group. It does not surprise me that Evelyn had been a Nazi. Her intense pro German, pro Israel stance in this life was a compensation for her anti Semitism in her German one. But she had overcompensated. The hatred she had felt for the Jews had been transformed into equal hatred for Arabs. No wonder she felt anxious, frustrated, depressed. She had not moved very far on her journey towards health. Evelyn went to another part of the German life. The Allied army had entered Poland, and she felt that she had killed from the front during a fierce battle. In her life review, after the death in that life, she felt remorse and enormous guilt, but she still needed to return now to confirm that she had learned her lesson and to make up to those she had hurt in her German life. We are all souls, all part of the one, all the same, whether we are Germans or Jews, Christians or Arabs. But apparently, Evelyn had not learned this lesson. Her hatred had not disappeared. I want to try an experiment. I told her after I had brought her back to the present. Are you game for it? She eagerly asked. She made herself comfortable. Her hands stopped their anxious play. She looked at me expectantly. I believe that we are all capable of influencing our future lives by what we do in this one. I said, right now, you're influencing your future life by this anger towards Arabs, just as you influence the other one by your hatred of Jews. Now I want you to progress you to the next probable life, your life if you stay on your present course and are Evelyn unchanged from the person who came to me for help. I put her in a deep hypnotic state and directed her to future life that would have connections to the German soldier's life and to her present life's anti-Arab bias. Her eyes were closed, but it was clear that they were seeing was vivid. I'm a Muslim girl, an Arab, a teenager. I'm in a hut made of tin, like the Bedouins use. I've lived there all my life. Where is this hut? I asked. She frowned. In the Palestine territories or in Jordan. It's not clear which. The boundaries have changed. When did they change? They were always changing, but everything else is the same. The war was with the Jews going on. Whenever there is a period of peace, the radicals destroy it. It means we are poor. We will always be poor. Her voice grew harsh. It's the Jews' fault. They are rich, but they don't help us. We are their victims. I asked her to go forward in an Arab life, but she died soon after of an illness and could add nothing further. Instead, she had a brief glance of the life after that one. She was a Christian man living in East Africa, angry at the rapidly growing Hindu population in his part of the world. It's amazing, I thought. Prejudice never ends. In her life review, she recognized that there were always by the people to hate, and now at last there was an epiphany. Compassion and love are the antidotes to hatred and rage. She said, her voice full of wonder. Violence only perpetuates the suffering. When I brought her back to the present, we discussed what she had learned. She knew she had to alter the assumptions about other people and culture. She needed to replace hatred with understanding. These concepts are easy to understand in the brain, but not easy to assimilate in a way of behavior. It took you two possible lifetimes to come to this recognition, I pointed out, but what if you could speed the change now that you understand the concept in the present? What would your future lives look like then? In the next session, I progressed Evelyn to a future life, connected the German soldier's life and a present anger. This time, though, you have to let go of all prejudice in your current life. You see all souls and people as equal, connected to each other by the spiritual energy of love. A calm came over her. Apparently, her future life changed completely. She did not find Arab or East African lifetimes, but instead, I'm the manager of a hotel in Hawaii. It's a spa as well. Beautiful hotel and spa. There are flowers everywhere. The guests come from all over the world, from different countries and cultures. They come to find recuperative energy. It's easy to find it because the spa is so well managed and its setting is so splendid. She smiled at the vision. I am blessed. I get to enjoy the hotel all year around. It is, of course, a nice fantasy to imagine yourself as the manager of a great spa in a gorgeous setting, surrounded by the smell of hibiscus. What Evelyn saw in this voyage into the future might indeed have been fantasy projection or wishful thinking. When I regress someone, it's sometimes difficult to separate actual memory from metaphor, imagination, or symbol. In visualized past lives, however, if a person is speaking a foreign language he or she never learned in this one, then that is a sign of authenticity. So is accurate historical detail. If the memory brings up intense emotions, that is also a sign. But while intense emotions often accompanies progressions, validation is much more difficult. I operate on the assumptions that even though a projection can't be checked out, it's still a powerful healing device. Yes, metaphor and fantasy are possible, but healing is the most important part. In regression and progression, symptoms disappear, illnesses get better, and anxiety, depression, fear are relieved. No one has figured out a way to confirm that the imagined future is really going to happen. Those few who have joined me in this field are inevitably faced with that ambiguity. If a patient is progressed to a future time in the present life, you can confirm it when the vision comes true. But even then, it is possible for a patient who has seen her future to veer her life in that direction. Just because a vision is fantasy doesn't mean you can't make it come true. People sit in front of me with their eyes closed. Whatever comes in their minds, whether metaphor, imagination, symbol, fantasy, or actual memories, is all grist for all the healing mill. This is the foundation of psychoanalysis, and it is the foundation of the work I do. The scope of my work is broader, and that it takes in the distant past and the future. From my healer's perspective, it does not matter whether Evelyn's visions of what was past and what it was done come are real. It is probably that her German life was real, for it was accompanied by intense emotion. And I know that her visions of future life influenced her in a powerful way because they said to her, if you don't change, you're just going to be repeating the destructive cycle of aggressor and victim. But if you do change, you can break the cycle. Her different vision of the future taught her that she had the free will to shape the future and that the time to start exercising that free will was now. Evelyn decided not to wait until her next life to bring healing, recuperation to herself and others. A few more months after our final session, she left her firm and opened a bed and breakfast in Vermont. She regularly practices yoga and meditation. Outwardly and inwardly, profoundly, she has let go for anger and the prejudice. Her progressions enabled her to attain the happiness she came to me to find. And in her, I found a model for the power of progression and further confidence to use as a therapeutic tool. Victoria and Evelyn probably would have taken their journey without a therapist to guide them. While it is difficult to practice regression and progression alone in my workshops, I teach healing exercises that can be used at home, even when there is no therapist around. I've also made some regression series that can be used to aid the process. They can be used to alleviate physical or emotional problems. For any of them to be effective, you must be in a state of deep relaxation. Many therapists tell you in their books how to relax, whatever works for you is fine. In short form, my method is this: find a place where you can be alone and you will not be interrupted, your bedroom or den. Say, close your eyes, focus first on your breath. Imagine that with each exhalation, you're ridding yourself of all the tensions and stresses in your body, and that each time you inhale, you're breathing in beautiful energy. And concentrate on the different areas of your face. Relax the muscles of your face, your jaw, your neck, your shoulders. Go on to the back, abdomen, stomach, legs. Your breathing is regular, relaxed. Inhale energy, exhale tension. Next, after relaxing all your muscles, visualize a beautiful light above your head, healing light that is flowing into your body from the top of your head and down to the tip of your toes, growing warmer and more healing as it descends. When I am leading the exercise, I count backwards at this point from 10 to 1, but you don't have to do that if you're alone. Dialogue with illness. Pick one and only one symptom, mental or physical, that you would like to understand, that by understanding how to heal. It would be the arthritis in your joints, your fear of heights, your shyness when you meet a stranger. Notice the first thought or feeling or impression that come into your mind. Do this spontaneously without editing. They should be your thoughts first, no matter how silly or trivial they might seem. Get in touch with that part of your body or mind that is troubling you. Try to try to make the symptom worse at first, experiencing it as fully as you can and observe how you do that. And switch places with the symptom. You are the symptom is you. This is so you can be most fully aware of the symptom. It knows where it is located and how it affects the body or mind. Next, have the you that is outside the symptom ask the symptom a series of questions. How have you affected my life? How are you going to do with what are you going to do with my body and mind that you are in it? How have you affected my relationships? Do you help convey something I can't convey without you? Some message or some information? Do you protect me from anyone or anything? The last thing is a key question, for people often use illnesses to avoid confronting the issues that lie behind them, a form of denial. Let's say, for example, that you are experiencing sharp pains in your neck. The exercise will help you locate exactly who or what the pain in the neck is: your boss, your mother in law, a way of holding your head so you don't have to look at somebody directly in the eyes. In workshops, I ask the questions so the illness is free to concentrate on its host. If you are doing the exercise at home, pre record the questions, leaving intervals on the tape long enough for mindful, considered answers, or you can work with a friend. This exercise, like the others, is not a panacea. A cancer won't disappear, nor will a mother in law, but often exercise will alleviate symptoms and occasionally a miracle occurs and cure is effected. We do not know the extent of the mind body connection in multiple personalities. A rash or fever will disappear when one of the multiplexes switch to another, or one may be alcoholic and another intolerant to alcohol, but we know it exists, and these exercises are a means of maximizing the dual force. Healing visualization. Here too, I've adapted the exercise, this time from a number of sources. Again, in workshops, I lead the participants, but it can be done at home with the use of a recorder or with a friend or loved one at your side. After a few repetitions, you will remember the steps. It's simple yet often extremely powerful exercise. With your eyes closed and in a relaxed state, go on to an ancient island of healing. The island is beautiful. The weather itself is a balm. There is no more relaxation. There's no more relaxing place in the world. Embedded in the floor of the ocean, a short way out of the beach, are some very large and powerful crystals that impart a strong healing energy to the water. Step into the water, going only as far as comfortable. The sea is warm and calm. You'll feel a tingling on your skin. It's the supercharged energy of the crystals absorbed by you through the water that touches your body. Direct the energy to the part of your body that needs healing. It need not be one place, perhaps your entire being is crying out for health. Stay in the water for some time, feeling relaxed and letting the energy work on you in its benevolent way. Now visualize several tame and loving dolphins swimming up to you, attracted by your calmness and the beauty inside you. Dolphins are master diagnosticians and healers. They add the energy by the energy of the crystals. By this time, you can swim as well as the dolphins because the water is supercharged with energy. Together, you play in the water, touching each other, diving, coming up to breathe and breathe the beneficent air. You're so entranced by your newfound friends that you forget the original purpose of swim, which is to heal, but all the while, your body is absorbing the healing energy from the crystals and the dolphins. When you are ready, leave the water and go back to the beach. You are confronted by the knowledge that you can return as many times as you wish. The sand feels good under your feet. So special is the water that immediately you are dry. Feeling content, happy, and well, you sit quietly for a time, experiencing the warmth of the sun and the caress of the breezes. Then you allow yourself to emerge from the visualization, from the soft dream, knowing that you can always go back and that the feeling will continue even after you are awake. Now, that's a very beautiful visualization. Maybe one day we can do it in the session. It's so beautiful. Now, let's read the regression visualization. In the relaxed state, with your eyes closed, imagine a spiritual being, someone who's very wise. A spirit can be a relative or a beloved friend who has passed over, or it can be a stranger to whom you have nevertheless trust and love as soon as there is contact between you. The essential factor is that the person loves you unconditionally. You feel totally safe. Follow your spirit guide to a beautiful ancient temple of healing and memories. It sits high on a hill surrounded by white clouds. To reach the entrance, you climb up beautiful marble steps. When you reach the top, the great doors swing open, and you follow the spirit inside where there are fountains, marble benches, and walls inside with laid of nature as the most abundant. There are others in the room, voyagers like yourself, with their own spirit guides. All are relaxed and enchanted. The spirit leads you to a private room as elaborate in design as the first, but bare of furniture, save for a couch set directly in the center of the floor. You lie on it, realizing that you have never been so comfortable. Above the couch are suspended crystals of different sizes, shapes, and colors. Under your direction, The spiritual beings arranges the crystals in such a way the light of the perfect color green, yellow, blue, and gold goes like a laser beam to that part of the body or the emotional body, the mind, most in need of healing. The light changes the crystals have broken into the colors of the rainbow, all of which you absorb as part of your healing. The spirit directs you to look at one wall in the room, and to your amazement, it is blank like a movie screen. In group sessions, I could count slowly back from 10 to 1 and tell the attendees an image of their past lives will appear. In your home, you will have to pause before the images take shape. You don't have to go into that past life, there may be more than one, but simply imagine it. The life may appear as a series of photographs, it may come like a movie. Maybe one scene will keep repeating, it doesn't matter. Whatever you see is fine, and healing energy beamed from the crystals. Your body is absorbing that. The healing is taking place not only in the life but in the past where the wound may have been originated. If you see a direct connection in between past roots and present day symptoms, the healing becomes most pronounced. But even if you don't draw a connection, as often happens, the healing remains powerful. You, the spirit, the temple, the crystals, and the light are working in concert to heal, and all are powerful. So these are all guided regressions, right? Hmm. Okay, let's read it. Healing Duets by Psychometry. In workshops and seminars, I have the people in the audience break up into groups of two, preferable strangers to each other. Each is asked to pick an object or two of her possession, hand into the other. Something small like a bunch of keys, a bracelet, glass, necklace, ring. The partners exchange objects, and then I ask them to go into relaxed state common to all the exercises. You will receive an impression about the person whose object you hold. I tell him it may strike you as strange. It may seem as the impression has nothing to do with the man or the woman you're facing, but no matter how silly or unusual or weird the thought, remember it and then share it with your partner. After all that seems bizarre to you might have deep significance with him or her. This is far more than a parlor trick. Though it can be great fun, there is a diagnostic component. About one third of the audience at a workshop I gave in Mexico City picked up a physical symptom of their partner, and participants may be able to discover often forgotten but significant childhood episodes in their partner's lives. For example, at a class I taught at Florida International University in Miami, one young man who had not met his female partner until that moment completely and accurately described her 10th birthday party, the one where she was humiliated by her older sister. There were another young man who had been shot in the left forearm while trying to flee a thug attempting to rob him. He wore a long sleeved shirt buttoned at the wrist. To his partner, a woman, couldn't have seen the scar. Yet, when she held his car keys, she felt a sharp pain in her own left forearm. Some described others' past lives. Many described the house where the partner grew up as a child. At the end of my Mexican workshop, I had five people take the microphone and share with the group what they had undergone. Four of them had mediumistic experiences. They received messages from their partners, deceased loved ones, all of them recognized by their partners, whom they had never met until that moment. Some were able to describe what the dead person looked like. One told of a young girl whom he saw walking backward, which to him meant that the girl had died. The girl was saying, I'm fine, I'm okay, you don't have to grieve so much, I love you. His partner, a woman, started to weep. She had lost her 6-year-old daughter a few months before. This exercise can be done at home, though it is most effective if you do it with someone you know casually or have only recently met. While you're healing your partner by delivering a message or picking up a physical or emotional symptom, anxiety, depression, sadness, an extraordinary connection quickly develops, and there is feedback effect that is as powerful for you as it is for your partner. Long distance healing. In the relaxed state, with your eyes closed, visualize loved ones who may be physically sick or emotionally troubled. By sending them healing light, his feeling energy, your prayers, you don't have to believe in any formal religion. and your love, you can actually affect their recovery. As far out as it sounds, scientific evidence backs my statement. Dr. Larry Dossey's book, Reinventing the Medicine, points to a number of studies which show that among heart patients, those who were prayed out from afar had better clinical outcomes than those receiving medical therapy alone. A double-blind study in advanced AIDS patient found that even when they did not know they were being prayed for, they experienced fewer and less severe AIDS-related illnesses. My own technique is to take one person in the workshop of, say, 80 people and put him or her in the middle of a circle formed by the rest of attendees. I ask them to project healing energy into that person silently but with all the spiritual force. I've said that the healing exercises are most effective and are directed towards one specific ailment. With Victoria, it was the cancer in her back. With Evelyn, it was anxiety that consumed her night and day. Most people have a susceptible organ as part of the body that seems to be first affected under conditions of stress of incipient disease. It may be the throat, respiratory system, the back, the skin, the heart, and so on. In Michelle, another remarkable woman, the area was her knees. She remembered her left knee being lacerated by a submerged rock when, as a child, she went into the water at the beach near her home. When she was under stress as an adult, she often felt migratory stabbing pains in both knees, but more so on the left. Anxiety, she told me, left her weak kneed. She occasionally experienced swelling and edema, particularly after an athletic injury in college, and was required minor surgery in her left knee. Arthroscopic surgery was needed later. By the time I met her, CAT scan and X ray showed cartilage loss. She could not fully extend her left leg because of the damage, and by now she walked with a slight limp. She was aware, though, the damage was emotional as well as physical, which is why she came to see me. Her first regression brought her back briefly to the rural Midwest of 19th century America. Her name was Emma, and in the middle age she had been run down by a horse drawn wagon. The accident shattered her left knee and shin and also badly damaged her right knee. A subsequent infection left her permanently disabled. In a glimpse of another life, Michelle saw herself in medieval Japan as a male soldier whose left knee was pierced by an arrow. Both regressions explained her present knee troubles, but did not get to the origin of the karmic lesson, so she kept going and soon reached North Africa in pre Roman times. Michel was once again a man, this time a warden at a particularly brutal prison, who took several delight in destroying the legs of the prisoners so they could not escape. Sometimes he would hamstring a prisoner with a sword or knife. Sometimes he smashed their knees with a hammer or a rock. He broke femurs, drove spikes through the knees, and severed Achilles' tendons. Many of his captives died from the infections of their wounds, but he reveled in their misery. His superiors took a vicarious delight in dispatching prisoners to his care, and he was very well rewarded for his violence, living in considerable luxury amid the squalor of the place. Michelle was disturbed by this regression, and it took another session before she was achieved complete integration and understanding. Eventually, she realized that we had all passed through barbaric lives, and that she, like the rest of us, should feel no shame or guilt for what we had done millennia in the past. Her journey is upward. We have all evolved through lifetimes of violence and cruelty. The Old Testament says that the sins of the father are visited in the children and the third one and the fourth generation, but we are being affected negatively by what our fathers did before us. But we are all fathers, just as we will be our children. The sins of our own past will haunt our present until we have understood them and earned absolution. The sins of this lifetime will darken our futures, but as we acted wisely in the past, so our presents are made lighter. We act humanly now. We will bring our future selves closer to the one. Michelle was able to see why her knees and legs were so painful in her present life. She had paid a heavy price for her past behavior, but now she recognized she could be freed During a deep trance, she went back again to that North African life, but this time, instead of inflicting pain, she was the one who felt it and she asked for forgiveness and grace. She could not change the faces, facts, and details of that life, but she could alter her reactions to those events on a spiritual level. The process of going back is called reframing. It doesn't change the facts, but it changes how you react to the facts. Michelle sent thoughts of light and healing to the prisoners, or rather to their higher selves, their souls, and she was able to forgive herself. I know how to break the cycle. She said through tears of gratitude, through love and compassion. She began to get better. Inflammation in her knees receded. She developed full range of motion in her legs, and radiographic examination showed both knees completely healed. Her stress-related weak need was erased. She was free to explore and understand other more sophisticated lessons of compassion and empathy. She supported organizations that advocate for the abolition of landmines, which often cause crippling leg injuries, and those that fight against cruelty to animals. She had received grace. Michelle did not want to go into the future, but I know what it will be. In this life, she will continue her humanitarian work. With each act, she will progress towards a better state in the next lifetime and the lifetimes to come. In those lives, she will be free of the physical problems with her legs, for she has expiated her North African sins. I don't know what her profession will be or whom she will meet and love, but she will perform and love with charity and compassion. Well, that's really magical. And with this, we come to an end of our wonderful day, our morning session. And tomorrow we start with yet another chapter on empathy. So let's take a few more minutes and thank our masters. So let's close the eyes. Dear light beings, today we've had profound healing by reading about the healing of these beautiful people in the book. We realize how an intention, when you send healing to all the ones you've hurt at the soul level, you find a change in your body. And today, maybe out of selfish reasons, whoever we have done harm to in whichever life previous to ours, known or unknown, we send love and light to each one of them for any harm that we have done. And all that we are carrying in our body karmically, the aches and the pains and discomforts, may they all cease to exist and be completely blessed with grace, love, and light. I keep feeling the healing that you're giving and healing that you're receiving. How magical, how beautiful. Keep feeling it. And you can continue being in this energy of being healed and sending healing, not only now, but whenever you want. And if now you want, you can also imagine it. And if you wish, you can lie down and take a short nap before you wake up healed and lighter. With lots of love and light, I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you, thank you, thank you.